All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. If you are on YouTube right now, you are looking at a woman that I have had on the podcast before. Her name is Jenna Kennedy. She is a coach, but she is far more than that. We were actually just joking offline, literally right before I hit record, and it was like, what do you want me to call you? And I think there are just so many things that we can define ourselves to be. And actually, that's some of what I want to talk to Jenn about today, because she has an incredible story. I want her to share a little bit of the backstory of what got her to, I will say, the first pinnacle that she was after. But then she's had just this massive blow up and reconstruction that I think is amazing. But for now, Jenn, what's up and welcome back.
Oh my God. I am so pumped to be here. It's so cool. It's been what, like 2-3 years now?
Yeah, I think that we were like either right in the middle of or just before like global chaos.
No, we were in the middle of it. I know. Yeah. I remember we were in the middle of it. I remember. Yeah. I know. Because you and I were vibing about it. Yeah. It's been what? I mean, I can't believe it's been that many years now.
Yeah, it's wild.
Isn't that wild?
A couple years for sure. And you don't really know this, but we just recently rebranded. So you were on a whole different podcast. You were on Authentic Conversations. Now it's Unlocking Greatness.
Oh, yeah. Well, how beautiful. And that's so much, I feel like what we're going to be diving into, right? Is just the evolution of us as humans. Yeah. And so I'm so grateful to be on the new, evolved mission in this world. Thanks for having me.
No, it's so dope. So just so you guys can get a little bit of a backstory, Jenn and I connected through a mutual connection on Instagram. She was just burning it up. She had made this huge shift in her life. She was leaning into, again, this first level of success that she was after. We had a great conversation, but over the last couple of years, I've been following her on Instagram, which is where I'm pretty sure she primarily delivers content. And it's been wild to see. So I don't want to let all that go, but I'm going to tell you guys that there are few people that I really try to pay attention to. And if you listen to this podcast, you know that I try to be really careful about what gets into my mind, not because I'm better than anybody, but because I get too caught up in whatever everybody else is doing. And I have had a very special affinity for Jenn just because she's been super real about the journey she's been on. Again, achieving some incredible success, seeking to be better professionally, personally, internally, for herself, for her husband, for the people that she serves. Anyway, so I'm pumped. I'm looking forward to it. So Jenn, why don't you just give everybody a little bit of a backstory about where you originally kind of came from, not your mama's womb, but a little bit past that, to get you kind of just on this path to begin with.
Yeah, I love it. When you said that, I was like, well, it was April 29th, 1989, and I was, coming into the world.
Wait, 1989? Is that for real?
That's for real. Yeah, that's for real.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So young.
You think so? Yeah. That's good to hear, because I'm rounding up to 35 and it's just feeling like, whoa, we're getting there.
Oh, give it a rest. I'm 1978. I'm almost 45.
Well, you pull it off well. Age, what is age? What is age? Such an illusion. Come on.
I know.
Come on. No, I mean, backstory, gosh, it's like, which one do we tell? Where do we go? I think that for the sake of this podcast and what you and I are kind of leaning into with just the transformation is, I haven't really realized how many lives I've lived in the past, not just 10 years in and of itself, unless you talk to someone, they're like, holy, you've lived a lot of life. I grew up, truly, I think it's important to know, my parents were divorced. And so there was a lot of just confusion and I would say chaos in the family. And I just knew growing up that I always wanted to help people, and when we were growing up, there was not like become an influencer or a coach and help people that way, right? It was like truly what I knew growing up was if you want to help people, you can become a teacher or you can become a nurse. And I love kids. So I became a teacher. And the moment I became a teacher, I just, the gut feeling of like, there's something else, there's something more. So I really thought the more was becoming a principal, right? Because if instead of helping 20 kids a year, I can help 500 kids every year. So, right. So I immediately go back to school. My first year, I'm a kindergarten teacher. I go back to school to get my master's degree, get that. And I'm like, all right, I need another degree to become a principal in most districts in Michigan, and went and get my ed specialist degree. And I studied leadership for 6.5 years. I have 2 postgraduate degrees in leadership. And I truly started to fall in love with leadership because I thought that really good teaching is what changed people's lives. But I realized that really good teaching plus a heart-centered leader that truly can embody and know what the core of leadership is, that's what really changes people's lives. And so I became genuinely just in love with this concept of leadership. And I led different roles in the school. I had 5 different roles in the 8 years that I was teaching. And I came home one day and I told my husband, I'm like, babe, there's something else. Like, it's not the school district. At that time, I had healed myself from an eating disorder. I had a long battle with my body, and, grew up with magazines saying, this is what you should look like, and this is what you should be like. And one day just kind of went on my own path of understanding the addiction in my family. I've got a lot of addiction and alcoholism in my family. And so started to understand my relationship to food through the lens of the alcoholism that I knew in my family. I was going to Al-Anon meetings. My dad was newly in recovery, and I just healed my relationship with my eating disorder. I had it for 6.5 years, healed my relationship with my body. I remember revived with CrossFit. Like I found CrossFit, and it was the first time in my life, it was 2014, that I realized that my body wasn't something that I was enslaved to. It was this sacred thing that I got to live in. And I started to completely transform my body. Well, at that time, I've always been the type of person, I know you're the same way, that if I'm going to do something, I want to really know about it. I want to learn all about it, right? I want to know the why. I want to get down to the roots. And so I started to get certified in nutrition only to help myself. Well, so has it that in this, this moment of my career that I'm like, there's got to be something more. I'm showing up at my CrossFit gym, and all these women just start coming to me and asking me for help. And so what did I do? I did what I knew how to do best, help people. It feels so good, right? So I started helping people, and I walked into my kitchen one day in 2018. I said to my husband, I think I need to start a business because people want to pay me, and I don't know what to do. So my husband filed an LLC, and I started this business doing nutrition coaching. I said, I have 2 choices. At the same time, I was in this process of then interviewing to become a principal, and then also starting this business. And I got to this point, fork in the road, where I said, my business is making double what I'm making as a teacher. And so what do I do? And I didn't know what entrepreneurship was. I'm from the Midwest. At this time, nobody were entrepreneurs. And I said, screw it, I'm going to bet on myself. And so I left. I loved what I did. I really helped women heal their relationship with their body. And then COVID happened. This is right before you and I connected. Yep. And my business was exploding. I mean, it was exploding because I understood people. I understood leadership. I understood what a new problem was with the world shutting down. And at that point in time, so many people were asking me for help. How are you doing this with your business? How are you doing that? How are you doing that? And I said, same thing I did before. Well, I'll teach you, And so then I literally just pivoted my business, what felt like overnight. And truly, like you hear of the instant success. I really had instant success. I remember when you and I first talked, I had my first 6-figure month ever. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, holy cow, this type of success is possible. So same time, my husband quit his job. We lived in an RV for a year, and my business coaching evolved, I guess you could say. And year in the RV was up. We moved to Texas. And one day I woke up with that same feeling that there was something more. And it was weird because I had all the external success. I had made $1 million a couple of years in a row in my business. I loved what I did. And, woke up and I was just, what is this insatiable desire for more? What is it? It's like a longing, if you will. And one day I woke up and I made the choice to shut down my 7-figure company. And, I had to leave behind a team. I had to leave behind work that worked. Like it worked. It was like a machine. It worked to go on this journey of really finding what that more was for me. And it's been a year later, so and here we are.
I want to pause there for a second. So I think that there's a lot that obviously happens to get you to the place where because I don't know you super well. I know you well enough to know it was never only about the money, though obviously that's fantastic to be able to make that money. I know yourself, your husband, I think your mom or somebody was also involved. Like you had like so much investment of life and people into this business. And so what was it that really, it couldn't have been, and if it is, then this question's over, but it couldn't have been just simply, I'm ready to rediscover myself again. So what were the things that were eating at you that were really starting to cause you to question whether or not, I mean, you're helping people, you're making money, transformation is happening in your own life, in your clients' lives, you're on the road, you're having so much fun, you're living these fun dreams, that freedom, like all of these things are happening, and something is eating at you inside to say, it's done.
Yeah. Yeah. One of them would have been in the space that I was a part of, right? The business coaching space. There really is a focus on money overall, like money at all costs. And if you really think about it, it's not surprising because coaching industry is a microcosm of what happens in the world. And what happens in the world, that money and power, money and power money is just this, it just is, right? But we have given so much meaning and so much attachment and worthiness and all of the stories that are attached to money, and it's enroped in power. And I was well in the space and worked with a lot of big leaders in the space. And I started just recognizing that conversation after conversation and program after program, it was like, I want to make more money. I want to make more money. I want to make more money. And it's like, can I help you make a lot of money? I can. I really can. I'm really good at it. I've got this brain that is like, you can turn that into a business and that and that. And I really, truly can. But I started to miss these conversations around sacred commerce, around the fact that every single transaction that we hold is somebody's potential transformation, is the fact that like an energetic exchange of money, like follow the money trail. Are you really, truly proud of where this goes? And it was like so much of what I was wrapped up into and what people wanted and the teachings that I were a part of was so much just making it was very much wrapped up into making money and power. And I got to a point where I was like, you guys, there's more to life than business growth. There's more to life than a milestone. There's more to life than what's in your bank account. Because yes, you could have a certain amount of money to set you free. But if you wake up every single day with stress, or if your nervous system is on overdrive because you're constantly needing to make more money, or if you have core wounds from childhood that you need to be seen by a certain number of people in order to feel successful, listen, we see it all over the world. The people who have the most money in this world, we have story after story after story: misery, depression, suicide, divorce, right? And I truly just sat there and I was like, there is more to this. Now, is there a passion in me that I love talking money and I love helping people overcome their money stories? But, I really found this passion in connecting people back to their purpose and why they really do what it is that they do.
Yeah. I think that's so great because I have fought this battle for the longest time I have never been able to get behind the message of come work with me. I'm going to make you more money. It's
right.
Like, yes, I can do that. I want to help you do that, but it will never, like you said, it will never solve the root cause of the problems that we face. It will never fully satisfy. And we hear that, like, anybody with any common sense would say, of course, money isn't everything.
Right.
But then you look at these people, and I don't want to cast judgment because I feel like I find myself in this place a lot too, but it's like you look at people and it's like, but your whole life, every goal, every mission, every drive, every book you read, every podcast, it's all around how to better equip myself to go make more money.
Literally. Yes.
And it's just destroying people. So you find yourself in this place where it's like, I can't do this for this anymore. And you took a lengthy break. Did you, I'm curious, did you do nothing for a period of time?
I did.
Professionally?
Yeah. Professionally, I didn't. Well, I had groups and I had some things going on behind the scenes that I obviously kept my relationship with my clients and my promise to my clients to deliver what I was doing. But as it relates to new things, I didn't. And I'll be really super honest with you. When I said, I'm going to shut this door, God, source, universe, reveal what's next. I went through a season of depression. I'd never, ever known a mental health battle like this before. We've got mental health, in my family, and it's been something that I've been aware of, and I've been passionate about mental health, but I've never battled it. And Ryan, when I tell you I battled it, I had never known it before, and it was crazy to me because I kept saying that I was debatably depressed. It was just like, I'm debatably depressed. Like I could feel it. Right. And I went to my therapist one day and he said, Jenna, you have every symptom of depression. And I said, I literally stopped and I looked at him and I go, I can't be depressed. And he goes, well, what do you mean you can't be depressed? And I said, dude, I'm the one in charge of it all. I'm the one that's leading it all. I'm the one responsible for everything. I've got 4 people on my team. 3 of them are family. I'm like, I have got all these clients all over the world. Like I'm the one. And that was my role from the time I was a child, right? Make sure everyone's happy, make sure everything's okay. And I looked at him and I'm like, I don't have time. I don't have the space to be depressed. And he's like, and that's why you're depressed. And so I really didn't plan after this. I didn't plan on taking so much time off. I planned on taking a little bit of time off, but that right there, the moment I accepted it, that sent me into a deep journey of a couple months where like some days I couldn't get off the couch. And it was one of those things that I truly couldn't believe. I'd watched my dad battle depression so much of my life, and I'd learned so much about mental health and learned so much about creating your reality. And I just sat there and was like, who am I if I'm not helping other people? Yeah. Who am I if I'm not the coach to hundreds of women all over the world? Who am I if I'm not making $1 million a year? Who am I if I don't have this vision, this mission, this work, all these podcasts? Like, who am I? And it was the first time in my entire life that I couldn't answer that question. And it was terrifying. So I had to take time off. At that point in time, it was like, I don't have a choice. And it was definitely terrifying, but it was also oddly peaceful. I think it allowed me to deepen my relationship and have a way stronger faith, and just trust that it was happening for me, and buckle up and cry a lot and discover so much of the deep reasons why I was there.
Well, and the fascinating tension, right, is you never intended it to do that in the first place. You were not teaching people to do that themselves. You were not trying to help that, you were not helping them wrap themselves up in their identity of what they did. You were trying to help them further discover who they were, all the while you were making money for them and helping them build businesses. You were surrounded by people that loved you and valued you for who you were and not what you. So it was like, this is where I think a lot of the struggle begins, especially for high achievers, is their life isn't falling apart more often than not. They have the right tools in place. They have the right structure. They have the right rhythms, the right habits. And yet you still found yourself in this place where it was like, if I am not this person to these people, then I'm nothing.
Literally. Yes. Yeah. Like on the outside, you look at it. It's trust me. I know. I was sitting there like, what? This doesn't make sense. But it's like what you said earlier with the money, like can't buy happiness, right? It's like, these things, right? But until we really know them in our body and feel them in our body, you're just going to keep coming up against it. Yep. I don't think a lot of us who are leaders in this world, whether you're a coach, whether you're a CEO, whether we all are leaders in our own unique way. Mothers who lead their homes, and their children, like we are all leaders in our own unique way. But take that role away and you don't identify with that anymore. Are you still good? Like truly, if we stripped everything away that all of us have, are you good? And that was really what I was asking myself to do. And not only be good, but like be in love with that, right? Like, I don't think I've always been a high achiever. I had to, but truly I had to in my life and with my family, I had to be the high achiever. And that also, I loved myself in the high achieving. I love myself when I succeeded. I love myself in the good days. It's easy to love yourself in those days, but can you really love yourself when you really mess up and you fail and you make the dumbest mistake and it affects other people? Like, can you really love yourself when you can't get off the couch and you feel like you are just the ugliest piece of pile of whatever you want to feel like, can you really find love and compassion for yourself in those moments? Yeah. And that's what I got to learn. And trust me, it was hard. Self-love is not easy.
Yeah. And again, that's another sad thing is it's been so emphasized in society to be so easy. It's like on one side, we
Truly.
know that this crisis is a disaster. And at the same time, we talk about it like, oh, we're good to accept failure. And it's okay to not be, you know, but people don't actually teach people how to deal with it. You know, it's just like, just figure it out and go your own way. And I'm like, no, this is a miserable freaking place to be.
Yeah.
And then for you, it's worse. Well, and for you, it's worse because all eyes are on you to not be that way and to help other people not be that way.
For sure.
And so like you're almost set up for failure, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, because the most real parts of the journey are not accepted by a lot of leadership roles. Yeah. Like truly, like having a mental health crisis or battle as a leader, it's not accepted. You're a leader. You pull it together for the sake of other people, right? Like being a coach and having an identity crisis of like, wait a second, this is a natural part of evolution and growth as humans. But all of a sudden you have a brand that hundreds of thousands of people are looking up to you and they're counting on you. Then all of a sudden we can't go on our natural evolution of humans because of this. Like, I think there's a lot of things as leaders, as entrepreneurs, as coaches, as guys, this is corporate as well. It's all across the world. That the most natural parts of evolution and growth, which is what our souls came here to do, are no, don't talk about that. Nope. Don't talk about losing don't talk about depression. Don't talk about those things. When in reality, everyone feels them. And unfortunately, when we keep these things in the dark, people go through them. Like seriously, Ryan, I thought I was completely alone for like 2 months. And finally I had the courage to talk to a friend about it. And I called her and she goes, "How are you?" I go, "I'm not good. I've never said this to anyone except for my husband and my therapist. I'm not good." She goes, "Jenna, oh my God, I was there 3 months ago and I didn't think I was going to survive. I didn't think I was going to shut my company. I didn't know if I could get off the couch." And I was like, why don't we talk about this? And the more that I became open about it and dropped the shame about it, and it was like revealed it out of the woodworks, everyone that I knew that's in a leadership role was like, "Oh my God, 2 years ago, I was so depressed and out of the woodworks." I'm like, why don't we, this is so natural. Why don't we talk about this? Why don't we normalize this? When we normalize it, we bring it to the light. We're not alone and we can actually go through it that much quicker.
Yep. Because I think that, whether it's willfully or ignorantly, I think that we're striving for nothing but ultimate perfection and success. It's like, I accept that these things are a reality, but that's not what I want. I want this, and I want people to see me as this. And again, it's often, I think too often we demonize the fact that people are trying to put their best selves forward. It's like, no, that's okay to want to do that. But in doing that, we forget that there's this whole other part of ourselves that's just getting eaten away. And when we don't have anywhere to go, we start dealing with that on our own, and it becomes self-medicated. It becomes far more destructive than that. So
addictions form from there too, which so many have.
Brutal. Mm-hmm. So you start to make the shift. What did the decision look like to decide to get back after it again?
I want to say that it was like all of a sudden one day and it's like, the veil's lifted.
You weren't like ice. You weren't cold plunging on the balcony and it was like, oh, here it is.
No, I wasn't deep in a meditation and God came to me and was like, here you go, child. This is what you do now. That'd be so cool. That'd be a great story, but it's not, because I don't want to say getting started again, because it didn't even feel like that. It truly felt like this, an ultimate death and rebirth, right? It's like, holy God, like I felt like a baby deer learning how to walk again. Like truly, which is such an identity crisis in and of itself, right? So I come out of it and then I'm like, all right, I'm ready to do it, right? And then it's like, truly feel like I've never done it a day in my life. I felt like I'd never created content before. I felt like I'd never created a program. I felt like I didn't even know what to put in my Instagram bio. I literally felt like I was starting from square -7. Like it was truly, it was like I forgot everything. And I was legitimately being asked to relearn it all as a complete beginner. And from someone who, I mean, I made, I had an incredibly successful coaching business, like business coaching business, where I helped people do this for 3 years of my life. I had a very successful nutrition coaching business. I had, the 6.5 years of leadership degrees, like dominated the education system. Right. And here I am feeling like I don't know anything. I don't know. I'm just starting from scratch. And, truly what started to happen was, I got really interested and really passionate about psychology and about just the human experience and the nervous system. Because again, if something happens, I want to really deeply understand why. Right. And so I'm sitting here and I'm like, what is this? And I start to get into like really understanding the psyche and the parts of ourselves. And, I was trying to operate in a space that I thought that I could operate in before, but I was literally a new version of me. I couldn't do it. Like there's no way I could create content the same way or do anything the same way. And so I'm still in it at some days I still wake up and I'm like, how do I walk? Do I do this? And I'm learning. I also have such a deeper relationship, to God and to the universe. And I have such a deeper relationship to, my soul's work, and I'm learning different forms of creation. And I literally truly feel like I'm reinventing myself still every single day. And that right there is I'm learning how to completely practice the art of detachment, right? I went through the season of not attaching to my identity as a leader, not attaching to my identity as a coach or a daughter or the one that fixes everyone's problems or a wife, right? Like truly, like who is Jenna when people don't rely on her to be who she's been. And so I've been really able to continuously recreate that. And that's been a genuine journey of self-love, right? Like if I could wake up every single day and nobody was around, how would I spend my day to feel the absolute best for me? When's the last time we asked ourselves that? We usually wake up with 77 things in our mind that we have to do. And then maybe I'll get to myself later, or I go to the gym for an hour and hopefully that's my time for sanity, and so I've been able to continuously recreate myself in that way. And it's a journey. It really is a journey.
Yep. When you're fighting that battle, because I think these are now the things like maybe people haven't been able to track with the whole journey because, they haven't been on the roller coaster ride to the top, back to the bottom, maybe they're just feeling these things. So you're battling these ongoing demons of questioning who you are, whether or not you should, whether or not you can, whether, whatever, like all of these things. And so what are some of the things that you are practicing day in and day out that are helping you to combat that?
So good. So good. What's funny is when I was in my like couple of my pinnacles, I loved the fact that I didn't have a schedule and I didn't have a routine and I didn't have to do anything. Right? Like I loved just going with the flow. You can go with the flow when you know what your mission is and you know what it is that you're doing, right? Yeah. If you don't have that anymore, going with the flow can actually really bring you into such a deeper level of depression because your dopamine, like you're not doing anything to get dopamine unless you pick up this device and this gives you the cheapest, sexiest dopamine that really messes you up later on, right? Which so many of us do because this device is like my third pinky. Yeah. And so, first and foremost, I actually looked at what makes me happy, right? Because before success was making me happy, before that identity was making me happy, before, there's a lot of other good things that were making me happy, but it's like, okay, hold on, like what genuinely makes me happy? Because I know that the happier that I am, the better that I am, the better my energy, all of the things. And what was crazy, Ryan, is I couldn't answer that for a while. And so then what I do is first thing in the morning, I do something that makes me happy. And it can change every day, but I got to do something that makes me happy. So whether it's a meditation, and it might not be, one day it might make me happy, one day I might hate it. A walk with the dogs, pulling my oracle cards, going in the cold plunge, going to the gym, having a conversation with somebody that I love, coloring, drawing, praying, whatever it is, right? Like what genuinely makes me happy. And that's something that I do first thing in the morning. Now, the reason why I do that first thing in the morning is because often what's the first thing that we reach for our phone. And this gives us an immediate dopamine rush. And unfortunately, what happens, and this is why we become addicted to these things, is that our brain starts to find that, try to chase that dopamine rush all throughout the day. And so I realized that if I do something that makes me happy first thing in the day, then my brain's going to continue to chase the things that make me happy. Even if it's as simple as putting music on while I'm working. Right. And so I was doing that. I do that first thing in the morning. And then I needed structure. And so exercise, either I go to the gym and I get a good workout in, or I go take my dogs for a walk, spending time outside. Cold plunging has been, there's a lot of controversy about women in cold plunging, and I'm a very big fan of it. Cold plunging has been just a complete game changer of having a stronger relationship with my physical body. And then I usually have, things that I'm doing, something that I'm doing to move the needle forward. Because another thing with dopamine is that the goal checking that actually gives us these dopamine rushes and hits. So even if my to-do list is like vacuum the house, order groceries, I still check them off the list because it truly helps us with that. And coming out of a depression battle, it was really important for me to actually take control over my mind. And, then whatever else unfolds throughout the day, I usually like my day structured about half the day, and the rest I let it unfold.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you have goals now?
In this moment, they're soft goals.
I'm actually I'm pumped that you said that. I remember, I'm not going to tell this story too long because it's just boring, but I got so sick of setting goals years back that 2019 was the first year I didn't set goals in decades.
Wow.
And I did not set goals in 19, 20, or 21. At all. Not one goal. I decided instead I was just going to focus on being the best version of the husband, father, friend, and business leader that I could. That was it.
So good. Yeah.
And I ended up having 3 of the best years of my life. It was nuts. And so I love that you, again, there's just such a juxtaposition in this whole story, because it's I was massively goal driven all these years. I crushed it in education. I killed it in the professional business world. I made all kinds of money. I helped all kinds of people make money. We were living our dreams. All these things are happening. And I was just kind of over it. And so on the other side of crisis, it's I'm just going to live for a little while. And I think that's a big part of what it's hard to not have drive and determination when you're wired with drive and determination. It's hard to not live on purpose when you feel like you have a purpose to live out. All those things are important, but I think one of the greatest, downfalls in society is we set ourselves up to give free time in retirement, which whatever age that is now, when in reality, we need it more so now in our prime years than we do then. And at least we need some sort of balance. And so I love that you're modeling, I'm just going to kind of go be. And yes, I'm going to have some structure because I need that. But also, I don't give a shit. I'm just going to kind of do my thing, But isn't that what you were striving for when you started the first business in the first place? Was I want to call my shots. I want to live my life.
Oh, yeah.
It overwhelmed.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think if you're an entrepreneur, freedom is your number one core value, no matter what, right? Yeah. We're all a certain kind of human, and it's your number one value. But I realized that it's actually not freedom that everyone's after. It's sovereignty. And there's a very big difference between freedom and sovereignty. Yeah. Freedom is I got the time, the financial, the location, whatever freedom, right? But like I said earlier, if you're not free within, you're actually more enslaved than you ever could be. Yeah. Truly. You can be the most successful. And I've seen it over and over. The bigger the success, the more that it is, because it's the more that I got to keep up and the more that I got to show up, right? And it's really sovereignty that everyone's after. The sovereignty to do what you want, when you want, how you want, of course, but also just this personal choice. And I got this. I have the power to create my reality. I have the power to live out my mission. I have the power to live and lead the way in which I'm uniquely meant to live and lead. And it's true sovereignty. And I made that massive shift because I remember looking at myself one day being you are free. You can make the schedule that you can do all of these things, but why don't I feel free within? What is it? that I just feel less free than I did when I worked in education. I had to be there from 8 to 4, so it's really this search for sovereignty, which I believe that we're souls having a human experience, right? I believe that we're more spiritual and energetic beings than we are human. And what is the essence of the soul? Love, joy, sovereignty, peace. That's what we're all after. And so, yes, there is this being, but like you said earlier, Ryan, you said like, it's hard to like not be in purpose when you know that you have a purpose. Right. And so there is this merging. And I think that's actually this, what so many people are after is how do I live in a way that is sovereign to me and that is best for me and my family and my life and my evolution and my growth, but also where I can live out the work that I'm meant to do in this world. Yeah. And that is a whole new type of freedom that not many people are leading, not many people are talking about, but I believe that we're going to see the rise of that in the next couple of years.
Yeah. You said something so cool in there that I think people can quickly miss. And it would take connecting back to what you said earlier. Like you spent so much time, and again, with such good intention, but building this mini empire and achieving success and feeling purposeful in doing it. But in doing all that, you lost the ability to actually just live out the purpose by which you've been called to live, which is to go be you.
Literally.
Like that's freaking nuts, right? Because it's like you got into business. You got into business because you felt called. You were great at your job and running your business because you were great at the work of doing it. And so it was like you were tapping into all of these components of how God has wired you that allowed you to be successful. So it wasn't like you were out robbing the world to make millions of dollars. Like you were tapping into you. And yet, even in doing that, you lost the sense of just being you. Yeah. And again, that's like exploding the brain because that was the complete antithesis of what you were trying to do, but it just happens over time as you continue to pile on.
Yeah, 100%. It happens. And also though, it happens when I think it happens because, okay, we know this, the subconscious rules, right? Like truly the subconscious rules our life. It rules everything. And there's so much work to rewire your subconscious for success and rewire your subconscious for money and rewire your subconscious to get up at 5 a.m. and whatever the hell anyone else is rewiring their subconscious mind to do, right? But are we going deep into the subconscious mind to recognize the patterns and the habits and the personalities and the work ethic that we don't necessarily realize are there? It's one thing to realize that we have a block, right? And it's so common. What's your limiting belief? What are your blocks, right? Because they're literally stopping you. Mm-hmm. But what we don't realize is that we have these subconscious stories and beliefs that are going and going and going. Like for mine, one of mine was, I have to help people. Right? My self-worth and my identity and how Jenna feels genuine love and success in this world is when I'm helping people. Now, to the outside, it's what makes me a really freaking good leader and a really good coach and a really good teacher, right? It's what makes me me. But if we don't bring that subconscious conscious and create and heal that and create that self-love and that self-acceptance with me that has nothing to do with other people, then what's going to happen? These programs are going to run. And then as you get more success, they're going to run bigger and bigger and bigger to a point where you're going to hit a wall. And so that's really what was happening with me was all of these programs were coming up. I joked with my therapist. I said, do you think I have a soul contract or like across my forehead? Like, all right, guys, I'm ready for every core wound to come up to be healed because that's literally what was happening. I would make it through one and then another one, another. And this is the depth of my depression. I'm like, okay, this is it for real. This is it, right? It's worthiness or it's identity. And it just kept coming up because there were these subconscious programs that I didn't even realize. Well, yes, they made me successful. They made me a great human in this world. They made me an incredible leader in this world. They created the most amazing work ethic. But it got to a point where you cannot run on parts or patterns forever. I believe everyone gets to a point where we got to get to like a breaking point. We hit a wall where we then are asked, and I believe this is our soul's evolution. We then are asked to find our purest, most truest self that's connected to a higher power and that's truly rooted in love and nothing else. Not identity, not worthiness, not external validation, not success. And I think that's the hardest work to do because it really is the greatest remembering work. It's the greatest coming home work. It's love, it's compassion, it's understanding. And so, I believe was the pin of, the depth of that journey to really get back. And it's like, how am I running on my childhood conditioning? How am I running on the patternings? How am I running on trying to escape alcoholism? Yeah. I have alcoholism in both of my bloodlines. And so I wanted to escape it. Right. Well, I did escape it, but I got to a point at one point in time that shifted, and I just became addicted to work.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. Same thing.
Yep.
And so until I get to the root and the core of it, these addictions are driving me to all these things, but until I get to the root and the core and I don't actually create peace in my body, it's just going to keep happening over and over again.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's so good because even through this journey you've been on, it's like you blow it all up. Eventually you're going to start it all over again and you're going to find yourself back in the same place. Right. And I think that's everybody that like, I'm over this job. I don't want to do this anymore. I quit. I'm going to go find another one. I'm like, it's just going to happen all over again over there because it's people over there. It's you over there. You're bringing all your baggage with you. Oh, I don't want to work for anybody else now. I want to go work for myself. I'm welcome to a whole new bag of shit. Like it's like, it's just, it follows everywhere. And I love what you said. Like if we don't heal the soul, then we will continue to repeat this process everywhere we go, with everyone we interact with, in every attempt we try to make it better. We're just going to make it worse because we're piling on this festering wound, and it just grows and gets more and more dangerous.
Yeah. When you don't get to the root of the pattern, it repeats itself. It's how the world works. If you think about how perfectly designed this universe is, it's how it works. And we've heard it. I remember I heard this quote before I even knew what entrepreneurship was. It was an Oprah quote, which was like, the universe first is a whisper, then it gives you a tap, and then it gives you a smack, and then it just hits you over the head with a 2x4, right? It's like we continue to get these opportunities to heal the depth and the core, right? You get the same friends, the same type of friendship that's really good and then it ends, or the same type of relationship that's really good and it ends, or you attract the same partner over and over and over again. It was my favorite quote, I think ever, is Carl Jung: until you bring the subconscious conscious, it runs your life and you will call it fate. Right. So it looks like, oh my God, this is just the same thing. And it's like, you are the reason why. Right. And that's the other thing, is I had to look at myself and take radical responsibility of like, I'm the one. And it's not to shame, and oh my God, like, you're the one. It's like my subconscious patterns are the one. My wounded little girl is the one. My 14-year-old that didn't know who the hell she was when she went into high school is the one. The one that so badly just wanted people to accept her. And when you go back to it, you realize that all of these patterns started out of survival, to be loved, to belong, to be accepted, to be safe. And when you know that, you can't not have love and compassion for yourself, because then you're like, oh my gosh. And you have kids, like when your kids, they want to do everything to be loved. Yeah. Right. And then you think about you as that little kid and you're like, oh, okay, I see what's happening here.
Yep. No, I mean, that was when I went back and wrote my book after healing over and over and over again from my parents' divorce when I was 6, and realized that was the thread that pulled through my whole life. But I also like what you said too, because it would have been very easy for me to say, when my parents divorced when I was 6, my dad left, I only saw him every other weekend. We had a kind of on again, off again relationship. And so then my addictions, my near adultery, my destructive behavior, that was my dad's fault because he left and caused me. And I'm like, no. That's not the case. And so I've tried to continue to qualify my statements over and over and over again to people. In my book, I wrote it over and over again. I said, I need everybody to understand, like, it was still my responsibility. Now, as a 6-year-old, I can't take responsibility for my parents' divorce, right? Like, that was their choice. But how I began to react, and some of that, yes, was not being given the tools, not understanding how to do it. But it's like, I have to take for personal responsibility and ownership, even reaching all the way back in now, 39 years later, and say, I needed to take responsibility. But because I couldn't then, I'm going to now. And I'm going to heal and change now, because I don't want to repeat those same mistakes for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you get to a point, it's a breaking point, right? Where you're like, I literally can't keep doing this because it's going to lead to wherever it's going to lead. Right. And in that moment, like that's the choice point.
Yep.
You know, that's the choice point of either it's so hard and I can't do it anymore, or I love myself enough that I'm willing to do this.
Yeah.
You know, and people are different. Some people, the loving enough will help them change. And some people, it's the depth of hell that gets them to crawl themselves out of it. You know, some people need a rock bottom of rock bottom of rock bottom, you know, and I think, I know for me, I needed a rock bottom of rock bottom of rock bottom. Right. And I think it's the history of addiction in my life and my family, but you're so right. We can look back and it's the radical responsibility of saying, I play a role here.
Yeah.
Right. And if I play a role here, then I play the role to change it. And that is power. Like radical responsibility and courage and acceptance is power, but we don't think that as a society. We think power is only found here when you can numb it all and compartmentalize it all and then reach success anyway. That's bullshit. That is not power. That is what is truly causing so much of the mental health crisis in our world and in our industry, right? Power is saying radical responsibility, acceptance, and courage that I'm going to go into this. I accept it and I'm willing to do something different.
Yep. Okay. So this, I love where this conversation has gone because I would always want to I would love to sit down with you for hours a week and just shoot the shit around so many different things. Like I just jive a lot, but there was a couple of moments specifically that I saw and I'm like, man, I need to have her just air this out for other people to hear. And one of them, I don't remember the specific moment, but it's been a pattern of a couple things that I've seen kind of change in you. And again, that may not be the right thing to say, but that I just love. So I've seen you go to this place of like, now I am really just going to be me. And it was simple things like, I don't need to put my makeup on my face all the time to get on here and record a video. I'm done using filters every single day to change the way I look. Even when you shared just a couple of days ago, a video, and it was something to the effect of like, I'm not getting sucked back into creating all these coaching programs and working one-to-one with people because that just doesn't bring me joy. And it's the greatest like megaphone of, I don't care what anybody else says anymore. I am just going to be me. Yeah. And that, but it's like, those are all kind of like funnies in and of themselves. But what I think that has done, Jen, is like, that has now proven to other people, first of all, that you're taking this very seriously for yourself. So it's a lot harder for people to abuse you now, in saying like, she's not going to fall into this trap. But more importantly, you know, when you talked about you finally decided to start talking about it publicly, well, nobody was going to jump on that train, or very few people were going to jump on that train right away because that was scary, right? It's like, well, just because she's going to go, I'm just going to follow from a distance. But now I feel like the power in the work that you're going to do for people from, you know, this newest season forward is now it's time to go be. I'm going to show you what it's like in the ugly. I'm going to show you what it's like in the joy. I'm going to show you what it's like to just naturally be me. And if you want to come along for the ride, I don't want you to be me. I just want you to do for you what I've been able to do for myself. And that is badass because there are few, you know this, coaches in this world, motivational garbage, writers, few people are actually living that out. They will talk about it, but with just a facade built into it, but few people. And so I love that. And if there's anything that I've come to respect about what you're doing, like this to me is probably at the height of it all, because there are a few people that have, I know this is not the right thing to attribute to you, but there are a few people that have the balls to be able to do this. Like there's just too much courage. And people aren't willing to exercise that. So it's been so amazing to watch this happen. So if anything, that's just a thank you, because we need more real people willing to just do this.
Oh, Ryan, that means so much. Thank you. Thank you. Because it is scary at first, but I literally got to a point where I was like, I'm done with the boxes. I'm done with the expectations, right? Like I told you earlier, is that season was like, who am I when nothing's attached to it? Right. Yeah. And if I can't lead that in the world, I don't want to lead. Like, I don't want to. I don't want to put a mask on. I don't want to put a facade on. And when I was going through my season of depression, I really leaned on Jim Carrey a lot, like his motivational talks, because Jim Carrey said, his belief is that depression happens when an avatar that we've learned to play is done playing the game. So essentially the masks that we've put on, or the avatar, the personality that we've created, is like, dude, I'm done. Like, my time has come and I'm ready for a more pure version of me. And then you go into a season of depression because you're going through a death of a version of you and a rebirth of a new one. Yeah. And that, I really took that to heart. I listened to this one video that he, about 2-3 times a day for a couple months, just listened to it over and over and over again, of just like, it's okay for these versions of me to die away, because a more Jenn version of me is coming that I've never known before. And with that, when I got back into like leadership, like I was like, I don't want to put a filter on I don't want to, like, who am I if I like literally put a filter is, to me, in my opinion, is a mask that you show up online to make you look differently than you are. At that same time, I stopped, I stopped dyeing my hair. I stopped getting Botox. I stopped doing my nails. I literally stopped wearing a ton of, I do love jewelry. It's fun. It's all meaningful jewelry. I love jewelry. It's art to me. Right. But truly, like, I was like, I'm done. Like, society tells you, that you should do Botox for your wrinkles and blah, 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 and your hair. And I was like, I took my extensions out. I'm like, I'm done. Like, I just want to go back to who I am, like, truly. And I'm a barefoot hippie. True. Like, I am. I'm also like, I love plant medicine. I also like, I'm a girl from the Midwest that is like found a new way to live life. I am a badass businesswoman. Right. But at the core of it, like, I could sit outside in nature and just talk with people about their life experiences. And I said to my husband, I said, if I could just live a life where my only job was to help other people become themselves and be happy, like, that would be the best life. And I looked at him and I said, shit, that's what I'm going to be doing in life. Like, that's what I'm going to do. And how dare I do that, putting a mask and a facade on, like, I can't. And I think that the world, like, it's the masks and the facades that we think that we need in order to be loved and accepted and belong and safe and successful. But in reality, all of us at the deep core are just craving to be our most authentic selves and to be loved and accepted and successful and safe and secure and belong there. Yeah. And I genuinely believe that. Like, I would love to have like a huge event wherever it's like it's like, just be you. Be you, like, show up and just be you. And the more that you're you, the more that your people are going to find you. And the more that you're going to be in love with yourself and others, like, just be you. And so thank you for that. It was scary, especially because in this seasons of stress, I've struggled with acne, and it was scary to show up with like blemishes on my face. And it was scary, but I was like, you know what? I love myself here. And so if I love myself here, it doesn't matter if 10,000 people on Instagram don't, because I do. And I pray to God that me doing that is going to unlock that freedom and that liberation in others. And so thank you so much for saying that. You brought me to tears, and that's the receive.
That was, the evolution of this podcast and my book has really been around this idea of unlocking greatness, and people constantly challenge, like, what do you mean by that? And I try to tell people that it's what you articulated. It's go figure out who you were created to be and live as the best version of that person, finding complete joy, fulfillment, and contentment in that. If that's billions of dollars, go do that. If that's, getting married and having 47 kids, go do that. Like, if it's living naked and afraid out in the middle of the forest, go do that. Whatever. Just like be aware enough to know where you need to continue to learn and grow, but just strive to be you. And I pray that people like you, other people will champion this idea of pushing people to spend ridiculous amounts of money learning to become the best version of them, the real them. you know, and it's an uphill battle. So that's why I love that you're championing it. Like people don't want to pay. People want to pay to make money. People don't want to pay to be a better them. And so, or, you know, typically. And so I love that you're on this journey. I just can't tell you how much I just appreciate, love, and respect what you're doing. And I pray that, I don't know. I don't ever want you to get back to like the chaos you were living before, but I want to see this light a whole new fire in the world, because I think that you just so deserve it.
Thank you. Thank you. And I trust it will. You know, I trust it will. It was a big identity to let go of legitimately $1 million a year. You know, like it was a huge identity to let go and shut a business down that generates $1 million a year. And I sat there and I prayed and I said, you know, here's the thing. I love making money. We all love making money. Money makes the world go round. Right. And I believe that money is a sacred exchange. And I truly wish that like this type of work can breed that success. And the message that just kept coming through was just, it will trust it. It will trust it. It will trust it, you know? And so, you know, I'm grateful and I'm humbled. I'm so humbled to be leading a completely different body of work that I never freaking planned on, you know, and that I'm just led to. I'm humbled and I have such a reverence for what is and what's to come. And, you know, I just buckle up. I think it's going to be a great ride.
I love it. I love that you're willing to just be on the ride that you're being taken on. I think that's so
literally
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I said that to I saw this meme, of course, which is where life's greatest lessons come from nowadays, you know, like, come on, like, it's like the Bible, just the memes. And it's like, how do you know it's the right path? And it said, just the path that you're on.
Yeah.
And that was just it. And I was like, wow, you know, it's just so good, so simple, but it's true, right? I think we debate that of like, what's the right path for me? And it's like, wherever you're at is the path that you're on. Trust it. Like we're all being guided by something so much more powerful than us. Trust it. And that's where we're at.
Well, you get to call your shots. So where do you want people to follow you? Where do you want people to find you?
Instagram's where I'm at. I'm always there.
That is the Jenn Kennedy. So you can go find her there. 2 N's, both in the Jenn and in the Kennedy. We'll make sure to put a link to that in the show notes. Jenn, I've tried to say it a couple of times. I don't say this to overstate it. Like, you're just awesome. I think that you just bring such an incredible energy and joy and spirit to the work that you're doing. I pray to God that you continue to see your light shine in so many ways. I know you're confident in this next season of life, but if I can be of any support and praying you along the way, I'm going to do that. So just thank you.
You're so awesome. I've loved this, and I've congratulations to your evolution, you know, and it's not easy to leave a podcast, you know, to evolve a podcast into what this is now. And I'm so grateful to be a part of this work.
Yeah.
And I got to get my hands on your book.
Yeah. I'll send you one up.
You sound so cool when you say that, you know, like I'll send you one. I got it. Like tell me you're an author now at that time. Like, oh yeah, I'll send you
cool
one.
About it. It just is what it is.
You're like, no, it's cool. Own that. You wrote a book.
It's just me being me. That's all it is.
There we go.
Well, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I mean, these are always more fun for me than they are for you, but hopefully you're going to get a lot of benefit out of it. Listening to this podcast, watching the podcast, go follow Jenn. I guarantee you will not just be inspired to feel better about yourself, but you'll be inspired to some sort of action in it. So like it, subscribe it. But at the end of the day, if you heard nothing else, just go figure out who to be the best version of who God has created you to be. Thanks, guys, so much. Talk to you soon.